Okay, if I could have your attention, please. Good morning. For any of you who haven't been to College and Coffee before, my name is Karen Valentine. I'm the Director of Guidance, and we're going to talk to you today about college admissions, myths, and realities. If you have questions, you'll have plenty of time to ask them, either during the presentation or afterwards at the end. How many junior parents are here? Okay, quite a few. All right, there was one handout I didn't put out because it only really pertains to the juniors. Juniors should be doing their testing, SAT and ACT this spring. And a week from today, after school, we're going to have a workshop in the Media Center. It's free. It's the ACT science section. That portion of the ACT is one section that students generally don't know how to prepare for because they think it's going to be biology or chemistry or physics. It's not. And this workshop will help students to understand how to prepare for it and give them tips on the science section of the ACT. So I will put this handout over there, but I didn't want to put it out in the beginning because it really only pertains to juniors taking the ACT.
Is that X block?
It's during X block, yes. It'll be in the Media Center, approximately 1:30, a little bit after 1:30. I'd like to welcome you today. Feel free to help yourself to coffee and goodies as we go. And I'm going to start by introducing Wendy Cargill, one of our college counselors, to begin.
Good morning. So, I think most of you have been to at least one of our college and coffees. Is there anyone that this is their first college and coffee? Okay, well, welcome. We're glad you're here. Traditionally, when we do college and coffee, it's a pretty casual presentation. And this morning, it's going to be even more casual because it's Monday morning and a celebration of Catholic Schools Week. And we all get to wear jeans, which we're all excited about, so excuse us. We're going to play a little game, okay? True and false game. And we're going to present you with some of the things that we hear a lot in the counseling office, which oftentimes is incorrect or slightly correct or half correct, to kind of make sure that you are well informed with some of the misinformation or the swelling, the overwhelming part of information that you get in the college admissions process. So we are going to play a game of true and false, and our first one is that I am receiving mail, I the student, not I the parent. I'm receiving mail from a school, and they will accept me if I apply. True or false? Okay, that one was pretty easy. We're starting out slow, okay? So that is false. You will find, for those of you that have juniors in here particularly, you might already be getting mail, and along with mail also comes email, which is almost more overwhelming in this day and age than the actual physical stuff that comes in the mail. And so for your students, it is a very tedious process to try to discern what exactly the intent of this information is. Basically, a lot of it comes from taking the PSAT or the PLAN test or other practice tests or things of that nature that your child might be taking, and they are falling into the range of students that they are looking for, okay? And by range, when it entails the male situation, it is a very wide range, okay? So just because your child is getting mail or email from a school does not necessarily mean by any means that they are going to be, a slam dunk and get into that school, okay? Sometimes students come in, bless their little hearts, and they're all excited, and they get this letter, and they're like, am I the only one that got this letter? Like, no, sweetie, you're not. So, that is their job in an admissions office. For those of you that work in, in a business setting, marketing, getting your name out there is just as important for colleges as it is for businesses. And so it is no different, and that is what they are doing. The beautiful view books they send out, or the links to their lovely virtual tours, it is all to make them look fabulous. And not that they're not fabulous, but they're not giving you, they're giving you the positive aspects, and the parent's role in this is to kind of help weed through the parts that may not be right for your child, and kind of help them wade through all of that information. Now, there is one thing, a lot of times they'll send things out asking you to attend an area visit or attend a tour if we live nearby. Those things can matter. That's something called demonstrated interest, okay? And some schools, many schools, do check that a student has been on a college tour or attended an area visit to demonstrate that they do have a high level of interest in that school, that they're willing to go out of their way to find out more about that school. There's something, a new phenomenon, a term that I've only heard in the last couple of years called the stealth application. And what that means is an admissions office gets an application from a kid that's totally not on their radar, which means, they didn't send them anything and the kid didn't come to any tours or area visits or lunch visits. And where did this kid come from? What their skepticism is with that is not that the kid may not be a great fit, but is that child really going to attend school there because they're not as well informed about that particular college. Okay, any questions about this? Usually we do questions at the end, but since we're doing this a little differently, you're welcome to ask during the part of the presentation. Yes?
Does it have to be a formal visit, like through the school, or set up through a coach for the counseling office?
Well, if it's going to be demonstrated interest, there must be some record of it somewhere, usually if it's through admissions or through athletics, usually signing in so they know that you have attended. I know a lot of times families will do tours when they're on vacation, maybe schools aren't in session, and so maybe communicating that to the admissions office through an email or I visited your campus. What their main intent is that you are well informed about the campus. If you are applying there and you know about the school, you're more likely to attend than if you're just applying there because you got a free application or you've gotten a lot of mail from them. Okay? Any other questions on this? All right, next question. I'm applying early action and that will help my chances.
I think it's ours.
Okay, so how many think this is true?
Early action, not early
Early
decision.
action. Okay, this is actually false. So we'll talk about the difference between early action and early decision. Who knows the difference between early action and early decision? Yes.
Early decision means that if they accept you, you're bound to it and you need to
Yes.
attend.
So traditionally they're both, usually the deadlines are November 1st, November 15th, so before the regular application periods. Early action just basically means you're applying early and that you will get a decision early. Early decision means that you are applying and that if they let you in, you are committing or promising to go there.
But so many of them are rolling now, so
That's a different scenario.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where does that come in?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a second. So with early action, sometimes students will be, their GPAs are not quite as up to where the GPA or the test scores is. Well, I'm gonna apply early and that's gonna help me get in. In reality, sometimes that is a negative. The students that apply in the early rounds, usually traditionally both early action and early decision, are the more competitive students, okay? They probably at least meet or usually exceed the GPA and test scores for those schools, okay? So your student is being put into an early action. So there's a couple options that happen when you apply early action. You can apply and you can be deferred, which means you'll get put into the regular pool and then you will continue on in the madness and get a decision when everyone else does, or you can be denied, okay, and then you're done. So applying early is a decision that your child should be making in an informed manner with the help of the counselor. Oftentimes students are way better waiting to do regular, where if their senior grades first semester are going to be helpful to them, that they are considered. Any student that applies in the early action or early decision rounds, their first semester grades will not be considered because the decision will already be made unless they are deferred by the time the grades are available in January, okay? Obviously, there's some benefits for students who do meet or exceed. A lot of students like to do the early action because they're done, okay? They're done, and by Christmas, they know they at least have somewhere to go to college. So we are not at all discounting the peace of mind and the stress reduction that happens from early. We just want to make sure that students that are choosing to do early are choosing the appropriate schools to do early at, okay? And then what about early decision? This statement becomes, if it was early decision that was in the question, there is a slight increase in chance that you will be admitted during the early decision round, because they know if they admit you that they will have a student that is committed to go there, okay? So again, applying early decision, if you do not pretty much hover right around the GPA and the test score, is not the shoe-in that some people perceive it to be, okay? You still should be matching the academic profile of that school, okay? And the same outcomes happen with early decision, which can be deferral into the regular pool or a deny. Okay, any questions about that? Oh, you asked about rolling. So rolling works a little differently than this. Rolling basically means that schools accept applications until they're full. They tend to be very, very large schools that have rolling, and so that is a different process. It's not either they're going to deny or accept you, and you can find out earlier, like the Arizona schools tend to do that. So there are schools that do that. It's a little less structured than the early action, where there's a specific deadline and a date where a decision will be received. So rolling, you could apply, and they might say, all right, we're waiting till we see your senior grades, with no action, where, you know, the early decision or early action is going to be a little bit more structured. Yes?
So can you just clarify what you said on early decision? So say you don't get accepted if you make an early decision or early decision application. Are you saying that you might be totally denied?
Yes.
Or you might get rolled into the regular decision?
Yes.
Okay.
Either or.
Is that your choice or?
No,
is
no,
that
it's their
college?
choice.
Okay. It just depends.
Once you send the application in, you're choosing, all gone. Okay, now it's them. They can flat out deny you, or they can say, we're not sure if we're gonna get stronger applications, let's put you in with the rest of everybody else, and then we'll see.
What's normally the average on that of what you've seen? It just varies by school, or?
I don't know the actual average. My take is it's not good. Usually when they're not accepted in ED, it's pretty much, all right,
It's a final.
yeah, we get our normal crop of students, our normal numbers that we're looking at, this student is not going to be admitted. Because if they match that, they would be admitted in the early decision round.
Is it true that college enrollment levels are declining because of financial reasons, so that?
I did hear a study that, and I think it has a lot to do with the birth rate and the baby boomers and all of that. I heard a whole complicated thing that I haven't actually had time to.
Juniors this year,
Yeah.
the lowest birth rate in 10 years.
Yeah,
So,
and so that the actual high school graduates level is decreasing. This is likely something we're gonna see the effects of over the next 10 years, not like an immediate that we would hope for.
can I ask a question about?
Sure.
Early decision is early decision because you're obligating yourself,
Mhm.
correct? But early action and then the regular and the rolling,
Yes,
they will give you an answer early. Yes, we've accepted you, please come to our school.
Yes,
But
usually.
you do not have to make your decision, correct?
that is correct, until May 1st.
May 1st.
Correct.
Even still with
So
early
you
decision, you
sit.
still have 9 months.
No, early decision, you are making that decision when you send the application in.
Okay.
Early action, you will find out traditionally in December, occasionally in January, but you have until May 1st to tell them if you are attending school there.
So you're sitting on those, say, Christmas time, January, February, the early action, if you get them.
Mhm.
And the rolling, whatever they
Mhm.
might tell you.
Yes,
And May 1st, and then like we have a lot of friends saying, but the UCs are really late and the Cal States are really late.
right.
So those are coming when?
They traditionally come in March-ish.
Late.
Yeah.
Late. Okay.
That's not late.
No,
That's,
I know, but,
that's pretty normal if you apply in the regular round of
okay.
admission at a private or a UC. Yeah,
You can only apply for one early decision, right? And can you
Yes.
offer multiple early action, multiple colleges?
Yes, so, yes, this is gets a little bit more complicated, but yes, you can technically only apply to one early decision because you're saying if you let me in, you're gonna go there and you can only say that one time, right? So, early action, you can apply to more than one because you're not committing to go there. And then there's another program called restrictive early action, which is dumb, which is, it makes it even more complicated. So you're doing early action, you're not committing to go there, but you can only apply to that school early. And that tends to be some more of the selective schools. There's very few schools that have that. Okay, true or false? An A in a college prep course is better than a B in an honors or AP course. This is probably the question I would say that maybe we get most often. So is it better to take just the regular college prep class and get an A, or take the more challenging course and get a B?
I think the more challenging course and get a B.
More challenging course than an A.
Which is better? I'm like to take the honors and the AP and get an A. That's what you want to do.
That's really a hard, that to me is the hardest decision to make.
Okay, so this is false. Okay, it is better to take the more challenging classes in general. Okay, but with that, we are also going to tell you it is not a good idea for a student just to load up on them because they are honors and AP courses. You pick smartly, you pick the ones that the student is strong in, that they have an interest in, which usually, correlates with the student doing better in the course when they like the course or are interested in the course. So you do want to challenge yourself, but you want to be picking those classes that you feel you can get an A or a B in the honors or AP courses, okay?
Is there a limit to those? Because if you have a student that really can do well in all of those, do they stop looking at them at some point? In
The
which
UC
case you
schools
might
do.
want to just
Well,
relax.
we have a limit as far as APs. We don't limit the honors.
What is the
But
What's your limit?
Our limit is 1 in sophomore year, 2 AP, 3 APs in junior year, and 4 in senior year. But the UCs do restrict up to only 8 semesters or 4-year-long courses that get the point bump in the GPA.
You said 1 sophomore year?
1
2,
sophomore
and then
year,
4?
3
1 through
junior
4.
year.
Do they recalculate your GPA?
Yes, they do.
And do they, with religion, do they recalculate your GPA?
At the UC schools and the Cal State schools, yes.
What if they take out the religion?
They take out a lot of stuff. They take out religion, PE, computer. Okay, so we're talking core academic classes.
What about like the arts and performing?
No, those count because those are visual and performing arts requirements. Yes.
Outside of the AP testing, do the universities look differently at honors and AP classes? Or do they look at them as kind of an equivalent?
You mean is an honors equivalent to an AP course?
Yeah.
No. An honors course is a more rigorous high school course, and an AP course is equivalent to an introductory level college course.
So if you feel that your child should push themselves to the AP, encourage them to do that and not
Yes.
settle with the honors.
Well, again, that's gonna depend on the particular student. A lot of the times, they're, like in social studies, we don't have honors, we have just AP. So if a student's gonna take the more advanced course, they're going to take it in AP. And the AP, like in math, in science, tend to be the classes the students are gonna take junior and senior year after they've either taken the regular or the honors version of the chemistry or the physics or anything of that nature.
I just wanted to clarify, you said it's the UCs and the Cal States that only take 8 of the
Correct.
semester courses.
Correct.
With the extra point.
Correct.
Okay, so.
It is. So out-of-state schools, private schools, usually consider our GPA similarly, but just know there are many colleges, again, tend to be the more selective colleges, that do calculate an unweighted GPA, which means they want to see your grades across the board without the point bumps. So what a college does once we report the grades or the transcripts are sent is entirely up to that particular college and what their policies are. Yes?
Excuse me, the AP courses in Chaminade for the grading is much harder than the other school. And then it's going to be benefit for some student to getting in the school, like when they have an AP in another school.
The AP curriculum is the same at every school in the United States.
No, but for the grading, for if you have like half a point in the other school, they help them out to their student to get an A instead of B. But here, you know, you're very strict regarding that. But
I'm not understanding what you're saying.
She's saying the grading system.
The grading
Curriculum may be
system.
the same,
Okay,
but
right, so the
needs
curriculum is the
different
same, the
grades.
grading, right, but
grading
that,
system.
that has to do with that our school is evaluated, the students from our school are evaluated in the context of the school they come from and are compared to other Chaminade students, not to
I know.
Calabasas High students.
But it's effect on their future. You know, this is because 11th grade and 12th grade is really help them out. For
Again,
the
this is
college, you know.
a total misperception. Again, that's why we as a school provide that information to every college that our students apply to, so that they know the rigor of the school that the student is coming from. And so they are well aware of the grading policies, they're well aware of our restriction on the honors and the AP course limit. So they are considered, and that's why they're compared to other Chaminade students, not to students from other high schools.
Can
Ah.
I interject on just a big,
Sure.
and I know it's not supposed to be a question, I was just put it down, but I think sort of what you're saying probably is initially, when you're getting 30,000 applications, they're not looking initially at where they're going to school necessarily.
Yes, they are.
They're not,
No.
Yes, they are.
they're not just looking at GPA, SAT cutoff, no matter what, we got for 20,000?
Well, at a UC or a Cal State school, there is a minimum GPA, but that would be the only situation where students are, if at a UC they don't have above a 3.0, that their application would not be reviewed. And even then, if they're slightly below, they still review the application.
I heard the same thing that you're saying, that they look at, because I complained to somebody about the grade inflation at other schools, and they said their college admissions is well aware of the grade inflation, and that's where they look at where our kids fall within our rigorous or super rigorous or average. or
And that's
above
also
average
why
curriculum.
test scores are something that's important.
Right.
Because the test scores need to be, have a correlation to the student's grade, where if they see a big discrepancy, that's gonna be a red flag to them. If a student's getting straight A's at Calabasas, but their test scores, are 500, 450, but they have straight A's, that's gonna be a red
Like
flag.
there are 60 kids that have a 4.5 average. That's ridiculous. I mean, how could 60 kids in the school have a 4.5 or above average? So
Well,
they
and
know
you'd be
that.
surprised, our grades might be a little bit more inflated than you think they are. I mean, we have a lot of students, I just said, we have students that are 4.3 GPAs that are not in the top 10% of our
Right.
class.
I know.
So, Mr. Fuller.
All right, the sharks in the water this morning, all right. Monday, one cup of coffee. All right. Statement, I'm Mr. Fuller, by the way, welcome. Statement, my essay doesn't matter, true or false? False. False. The essay is the last chance to say who you are, right? So it's your students' last chance to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm passionate about, and this is how I will fit into the school's community. If they don't put any effort into it, it kind of says a lot about them, right? And that's a really bad sign. And if you think about it, if they test really well, if they get really good SAT or ACT scores, and their grades are great, but their essay is terrible, they're gonna wonder who wrote it, first off. They're gonna wonder, do you actually even care about this school? Because a lot of schools, when they're applying, it's not just the one essay. Sometimes it's 3, 4, or 5 essays, so they really have to put the effort in everywhere, and they wanna see that they're really committed to that school. As a warning, and I cannot be more sincere about this, the essay should be written by the student. Not the parent, not the tutor you just paid $3,000, not your uncle, sibling, neighbor, the dog, or the cat. It should be written by the student. It should be in the voice of the student, and it should sound like a 17 or 18-year-old is writing that essay. They can take an essay and say, well, the student scored here, But this essay looks like it's written by someone with a college-educated degree and see the difference. Now, I've read essays, we've all read essays of our students. You can actually go down them, and there are sentences that just pop out at you. Did you write this sentence? No. Mom made me put it in. She thought it would look good. And I'm like, well, it looks terrible because you just messed up the entire flow of the essay, so pull it out. And you can actually see that. So that's why we really want to make sure it's written by the student. Now, I did say sometimes it is true that the essay does not matter. For Cal State and other schools where an essay is not part of the application, of course it doesn't matter. Any questions? Yes.
What should the content of the essay be? Like why they want to go to that school and more about them?
Well, there are different topics. Topics range from sometimes, why do you want to go to this school, or worded slightly different to be, how do you see yourself at the school, what do you envision yourself doing? And then the more general essay is, really tell us about yourself. And they're going to ask it in 100 different ways, but it's tell us about yourself. What have you done? And the topic should really be something that they're passionate about. If they're passionate about it, it will come across that way, and the college will like that. Avoid the cliche, I went to Mexico for 3 days and helped build a house, and it changed my world, and I'm an infinitely better person because of it. It doesn't come across the same as soccer is the most important thing for this reason, and this is what I've done to grow because of it, and it's a multi-year type of thing. Does that make sense?
Does Chaminade offer workshops on trying to prepare the students to write?
We do, actually. We have a couple different things. The first thing would be application boot camp, and that's for the current juniors entering seniors. Part of application boot camp, there's 2 separate writing sessions. They're multi-day sessions where they'll work with an English teacher to develop their essay from the ground up to make sure it's a good, solid, complete essay. So that would be the first resource we have. And then in the fall, the college counselors will work with them on where is your essay at, what can we talk about, how can we help you,
Who
stuff like
taught
that.
boot camp last year?
I'm sorry?
Which English teacher taught boot camp last year? Remember?
Yeah, several, nearly all of them. Yeah.
Oh, they're all working?
Yeah. They get put with a teacher just randomly.
Oh, there's more than one class
Yeah.
working?
There's usually 6 or 7.
In a class?
Teachers,
How many in a class?
7 or 8 kids.
Okay,
Yeah.
small group.
Yeah, small group.
That's the students, they'll do it, that was junior year before their senior year?
Correct, that's
Is it like
application
in the
boot camp.
summertime, or is it the
I'm sorry?
spring? Is it the summer?
Yeah, it's right in the summer. There's one session in June and one session in July.
Okay.
And they can go to one or the other.
And then they have someone that will look at their essays and help guide them through
Yep,
it?
the English teacher, yep, absolutely. Okay. I'm in 5 clubs. I planted a tree once. I work at a soup kitchen sometimes, and I played soccer my freshman year. My application is very impressive.
False.
No. False. Yep. Your app is impressively concerning. The question that will be asked is, what did you actually do? Instead of just a smattering of things, we really want our students to focus on consistency and their interests. That's the most important. It's not what they do, it's that they do something and that they do it consistently. And then really what we want them to strive for is a leadership position. They can show that they've been in a leadership position that's really going to benefit their application. Questions there? Yes.
One, do they want to just specifically pick one thing that they've really showed leadership with, or do they want to name a couple, but then really impress
Well, there's
upon
some,
what
it
they
depends
do
on the
and how they
student,
do it?
right? So like some students, like our sports, our athletes, they really don't have much time to do anything other than play a sport. So if they're a captain of the JV team and then they move up and then they play varsity, that's great. That's a lot of time, and it's generally a year-long commitment. There are other students who are in 2 or 3 different clubs. They might be vice president in one year, they might move up and the secretary of another, but they have and have shown an interest in that club throughout. They started in freshman or sophomore year and they're continuing with it throughout their senior year. That's really what they're looking for. They don't have to be in 7 or 8 clubs. So then the question is, are they just going 1 hour every other month to the club meeting, or are they actually a part of that club, part of that little community there? Okay. high SAT or ACT matters the most? All. Yes. Yes, it is important. Yes, your score is a large factor, but it is not the most important factor. Okay, so if I pulled this off of the NACAC website, which is a membership that we're all a part of. The top one is grades in your courses, of course. And then as Mrs. Calgill mentioned, it's strength of curriculum. That's the number 2 factor, right? The willingness to take honors and AP courses. Number 3 is the test scores. And then number 4, as was mentioned just a little bit ago, is the essay. And then right at the beginning, we talked about demonstrated interest, and then below that are the recommendations. So you can really see that the student comprises a majority of their application. Yes, the recommendations are important. Yes, we put a lot of effort into those to make sure that your student stands out. But the grades, the strength, the test scores, and the essay are going to be the 4 most important factors for them to consider. Any questions on this slide?
What about 9th grade, getting back to that? Because if you didn't take a lot of honors coming from Chaminade Middle School,
Sure.
like you just have like a straight 4.0, but you weren't in any honors. I mean,
That's
pretty
correct.
cheap
But if
down.
a student had a 4.0 in their freshman year, they're likely going to move into honors, possibly AP World History their sophomore year, and then their strength starts to increase. Really, the years that they're looking at are junior year as the top year, and then sophomore and senior year as well. They want to see that consistency, the growth, the increase in the difficulty of curriculum as you go through high school. As high school increases in difficulty, college will even be more so. So they want to make sure that it continues to go in that upward trend. Interview does not matter. False. I see a trend. May not be the most important factor, right? We already went through and we listed the top 7 factors, and interview is not on there. However, a school is a community, and the school wants you to be able to fit into that community, and that's really the primary reason for the interview. The benefits. Number 1, it displays further interest in the college. If you're willing to go to an interview, you're showing that college that you're still very much interested in them. Second, you want to show yourself off, if you can. Can you show yourself as, this is the person who you see on paper, who had the great test scores, who did all these did the activities at a consistently high manner, whose essay was awesome, everything like that. And it also lets a student know if the school is right for them. Now, certain schools, like Yale, have people who have a personality about them. And when a school interviews your student, they will meet a representative from that school, usually an alumnus, a graduate, so they can kind of see, am I like that person? Am I going to fit into a community full of people like that person? If it won't fit, well, they'll know, you know what, this school might not be for me. It's great that I interviewed, still showed the interest, but the school might not be right for me. So it kind of works both ways. Now, if your son or daughter is an awesome interview, a good personality, that will not be the swaying factor in getting them acceptance. Really, it's a, will they fit in here? Good, we can check off that box and get them through. It's not going to be, well, they weren't quite right for us, but they interview exceptionally, so now we'll get them in. It's not going to work that way. Yes?
Who usually initiates interviews? Is it the school or the student requests it, or is it a combination?
So usually the school will initiate the interview. They'll contact the student and say, we'd like to interview with the student. There are some schools where you can sign up on their website to request an interview, but typically the school will ask. And that typically indicates that a school is at least being strongly considered for admission. All right, next up, Mrs. Camille.
Hi, everyone. I'm bringing up the end here. So for some of our last myths, the admissions offices will check out my Facebook page. What do you guys think?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes? It's the, yep, you are correct. True. So behavior online is indicative to them of behavior in person. So as we've all seen on the news, maybe you guys have talked to your children at home about being careful about what they post online, what they say online, pictures that are posted. We all know that they are forever there. Well, this also, can be a factor that could sway an admissions committee while they're making a decision. And also, of course, for a future job. I mean, there's a lot of implications with social media. So for something else you can remind your students of is that Facebook does matter, Instagram, all those things that are out there, and probably many more that I don't even know exist. That's something to be careful of. So many colleges will take that extra step because they're looking for a way to differentiate students. Just like with the essay, the interview, they're looking for something that if student A and student B look exactly the same on paper, they're looking for something to help them make that decision if there's only one spot. So, and also, they just want to make sure that they're adding people that are quality people, that are going to be contributors to their campus, and sometimes, the internet doesn't lie. So, they can find public information in many, many places, of course. MySpace, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, as I said. This especially can come into play with the scholarship situation when a committee or admission officers might be taking one extra step to take a look at them. And one good piece of advice is using the grandparent rule. Anyone know what that might mean? Exactly. So tell your students, if there's something that you're putting online that you wouldn't want me or maybe grandma or grandpa to see, maybe think twice about it. Okay, my uncle played football there. I'm for sure getting in. The myth of legacy. What do you guys think? True or false? What do you guys think? False. Yes, false. Okay. The first line tells it all. Unless your uncle's name is on the new athletic facility, it's probably not happening. Okay. Many students choose schools based on a family connection, a close friend connection, and of course that makes complete sense. How do we learn about a lot of different things because of what you're talking about? Or they hear about a school, they get excited, they know somebody that went there. Of course, that's very natural. But we don't want them to come under the false conception that, oh, I know that person, so I'm getting in, or oh, my grandfather went there in '74 and I'm gonna get in, okay? Because that's just not the case. Legacy refers to direct family members, parents, siblings, grandparents, usually pertains to private institutions. Okay, so in some certain circumstances, grandpa going there in 1974 might have an impact, but many times if it's an uncle or a cousin, or again, there's no big name on the facility or a big donation or something like that, it's not going to make a big impact, okay? Legacy status is not a guarantee either. Certain schools really value legacy, and that can make an impact. But there are some schools that might say, Grandpa went here, awesome, but you don't really cut the mustard, so it's not like it's a free ride just because you have a close family member that went there.
Should we all make sure we start donating to our online?
Yes.
I mean, we don't have a library donation, but does that matter? We start making sure we're on that honor roll thing, or doesn't matter?
No.
Okay, cool.
No. I mean, you can do it out of the goodness of your heart. You can tell them, they'd be like, thanks, that's great. But again, that leads me to the next line here. It's not a guarantee, okay? It's not a guarantee. It might be a bump. They're like, oh, that's great. They're really invested in the school. But unless it's a real big investment, it's not going to make a difference. Okay, I'm applying to study bakery science, then I will just change to biochemistry once I get in. This is a very common thing we hear. Not exactly in these orders, but what do you guys think about that? True or false? False. 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 You are correct. Okay? Be wary of this. We tell students this all the time. Don't use strategy. Okay, a lot of students will say, well, what if I say this and then I'll just change it later? What if I say this major and then I change it later? There's a lot of different things that students come up with. Sometimes out of desperation, panic. They're worried that they're not going to get in. And of course, who could blame them? Here we're all sitting here worrying about it, talking about all the different factors. It's very overwhelming. And I understand that students would be looking for any possible opening to make a difference in their application. But just make sure that you talk with them about that's not what's gonna help them get in, okay? As you can see from all of the slides we've shown you today, the college admission process is very much a large puzzle, okay? There are a lot of different factors that go into it. It's not one thing that's gonna get them in, okay? The way to gain admission is not by attempting to deceive, okay? Colleges can read through a lot of things like that, and they wanna make sure that they are admitting students that are going to come there. You know, that's that demonstrated interest. They want to say yes to a student that's also going to say yes to them. It's a business, so they're looking for students to fill a student body. Okay, and they want to make sure that these people that they're inviting on campus are going to be good roommates, good people, and they're really taking the student's word for it. Okay. Some schools only allow changes for majors within the same college. So in terms of the major changes, I actually had this happen to me when I first started working at Chaminade, and I had to advise the student to contact the school and let them know, because at this particular school she was going to be starting out in major classes right away. And it was something actually similar to bakery science. And she was very disappointed, and but she knew that she had done something wrong, and I said, that's not the way that you should do this at all, ethically. And B, now you're going to be stuck in this major until you can get out, because some schools don't make it very easy. And especially in certain kinds of majors, if you're looking at engineering or performing arts or something that's very particular, and some students might think if they choose something obscure, it's going to help them, but it could also really limit them a lot. So not only are they not being honest with the admission officers that have taken a lot of time to evaluate their application, but now in this example, they might be stuck. Okay. Next one. I will start looking into college my senior year. Okay. This is something that we run into as well. What do you guys think? False, 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 false. Okay. College admissions begins in 9th grade here. Okay. Do we advocate starting your essays in 9th grade and stressing out over everything in 9th grade? No. But it's always good to start thinking ahead. Okay. You have your children here at a college prep school. It's in our name. We are here to help prepare them for college. That begins with choosing the right classes, going to see their counselor, thinking about it, having dinner table discussions. It doesn't mean worrying about it and stressing over it, needlessly 4 years in advance, but it does mean start thinking about it, okay? When we meet with juniors, we really want them to really start to invest in the process. We hope that when we sit down with a junior, it's not the first time they've started to think about college, but of course they're not going to run out and start their applications. The junior year is about starting to explore their options. What kinds of schools are they interested in? Trying to get a little more narrowed down option, because I'm sure in 9th and 10th and 11th grade, there's 3,500 schools are very overwhelming. It's hard to know where to start. And by junior year, they've started to see what kind of student they are, maybe how their application might start to take shape, what kind of school might be a good fit for them. So we want them to start thinking about it early, and then as 11th grade approaches, start to really get more serious about it. We want students to meet with their counselors all 4 years. Okay, like I said, starting with 9th grade, they should be meeting with their counselor, getting good advice, and thinking in advance, what classes are going to be good for me. We hear all the time from juniors and seniors, gosh, I wish I would have done better in 9th grade. I wish I would have paid more attention to my classes in 9th grade. I wish I would have made up that D from 10th grade. There's all these things that they wish they could do. So the best message we can give you today, especially for parents of freshmen or sophomores, is, you should be thinking about what you do today matters 4 years from now, or what you do today matters for your college processes. The other thing that you guys can be doing is visiting campuses. Going to rep visits. I'm talking to students. Students should be visiting campuses with you. Students can go to college rep visits, which we do during second lunch in fall and spring. And college tours. As many of you might know, we offer a lot of college tour opportunities here. This spring, we have a tour going to Colorado. And then in February, we're offering 2 local tours just for juniors. And every fall, we do a big tour as well. So there's so many opportunities for students to get on campus. And luckily we live in a city that offers so many options. So, while you guys are out or on a day off or something like that, you could take your students to USC or Pepperdine or Cal Lutheran or Cal State Channel Islands, to see the differences in the campuses, because that's what a lot of times they don't understand, is that a big school feels different than a small school. They're not sure what they know yet because they're still learning, they're still exploring, and maybe they only know what you tell them at home, and it's very different for their own experience. They might be more tempted to follow what Susie says or Johnny says because they haven't seen it for themselves and they haven't really started to delve into that. So that's where you parents come in, is getting them exposed to that, taking advantage of your time off when you have it, or your weekends or your breaks, to take them out to see campuses, talking about it at the dinner table, not to stress them out, but to say, hey, you know, where do you think you might like, or are you interested in anything? Find meaningful summer programs. There's a lot of summer opportunities that we advertise in our office. Anything we get in our office, we make sure we usually email to everybody so that they know about it. There's certain campus opportunities. If a student is interested in a certain school, or they want to go to the East Coast, or they want to go up north, they can look up what individual college websites, and a lot of times they will, under a heading like high school summer programs, they make it pretty easy. They'll let you know what kind of program that they offer, the application process, and all of that. So there's a lot of opportunities for students to get physically on campus, which really, really helps. And getting excited early. Okay, sometimes it's so overwhelming, or, you know, especially for juniors, if they hear about their senior friends stressing out about the college process, they start to worry about it more than get excited about it. So when we meet with juniors, we always try to tell them, you know, this is a big deal. You know, you're about to be a senior. It's like the next chapter in your life, the next 4 years. And so, you know, we want them to be excited about it, be thoughtful about it. And no more myths. So we'll take a few more questions if you guys have some, now that we've exposed all the myths and realities for you. Any questions?
On the online or social media, my daughter doesn't really have, you know, she doesn't have a Facebook page, she doesn't have, she has minimal. Is it worth putting something out there to look positive, or is it are they just looking for negative?
Count your lucky stars.
What's your secret?
Unless she has it, I don't know.
In regards to the interview process, do you guys offer any classes to help prepare those?
No, but one thing I didn't mention for juniors, we are offering some workshops this year during XBlock. So we have, I think, one in February, 2 in February and 1 in March. And we're going to be talking about kind of getting them ready for the process. So because the process doesn't really start to apply until senior year. So junior year, we're talking to them about creating a college list, you know, getting letters of recommendation. We can certainly touch on, you know, NCAA guidelines, interviews, any questions that they have. We are available. We do it very informally. They bring their laptop to the media center. We talk to them. We answer their questions. The one in March is actually on essays. So to answer some of your questions from earlier, we do walk them through kind of, you know, some tips from a college counselor perspective for essays. So we can help them with all of the above. They just need to ask.
They just need to ask.
Yes, we're not mind readers, so.
You know, and much like the essay, I would caution against over preparation, because I think we always hesitate. I'm never gonna want to put words into a student's mouth or give them a preconceived idea. I mean, you need to keep in mind that most college interviews take place at Starbucks. Okay, they're pretty casual. Once in a while, the student will be going to, you know, their office or a place like that. But for the most part, there's more of a conversation than an interview. And so just kind of making sure they know about the campus, knowing that they have a few questions to ask so they can, you know, display their interest is really, and it's just getting to know if that student is a good fit for the school.
Okay, so I'm asking because I'm a shy ninth grader.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a senior who's very outspoken and no problem. So how can I guide the ninth grader to be more open, to feel comfortable? How can I prepare for it? That's
I
what
would
I'm
wait a
asking.
couple years.
Yeah, I would take a breath.
What can I do now to get her to?
Honestly, I mean, your child is
I've
your
been trying to do it since she's little.
Okay, well, it may not be in her DNA makeup to be that. And there are schools where interviewing is, for most schools, it's optional. And so interviewing is not always,
Yeah.
I've had students that I've said, if you have the option, maybe not. And that's okay too. And like they said, it's such a tiny piece to the overall. I don't think it's worth stressing about it at all.
Yeah, no, I would wait because, you know, like she said, some school, everything varies by the school. There's only so many things that every school requires. Interviewing is one of them. It just depends on the school. So you kind of can't know if that's going to be something she needs to really prepare for until junior, senior year. So
A lot of it'll change just with getting a little older too and more comfortable.
she'll do it. Yeah.
Are you seeing any trends or changes in the last few years, kids being more attracted to bigger schools versus small schools, public versus private, any trends?
I haven't. I mean, it really, I know this sounds really vague, but it's so true. It just depends on the kid. I mean, sometimes you have a kid that says, I really want all the sports, and I want this, and I want that, and then we know exactly, you know, kind of the direction they're headed. And then you'll have a student that comes in and says, you know, I want to be in a small group. I don't like big campuses. I'm looking for, like, you know, a lot of interaction with my faculty members. Then we know they're headed in that direction. It really depends on the student's personality. So I wouldn't say that there's been a big trend. I mean, at Chaminade, obviously, we have a pocket full of schools that are nearby that students love to apply to every year without fail. But I think variety is really the key. A lot of kids apply to big UCs and then smaller private schools. It's really a mixed bag.
I think you'll also notice if you look at where our students have been applying in the last 3-4 years, we, when California got so competitive and the spaces were limited, we've made a huge effort to kind of open the horizons to out-of-state schools, and there are so many great ones out there, and you'll see that there's much more variety in where our students are applying. The big name schools, the big schools tend to be the big name schools because they're the ones that have the football teams or the basketball teams, and that's kind of how that works. But I think it definitely, the size of the school, you know, is pretty much consistent, that we have the small tinies, the middle, and then the large schools, and the variety seems to be about the same as far as size is concerned. Yes.
Do you still have a thing where the parent goes online and sort of shares some information with the counselors? I forget where
The
that is.
parent brag sheet, that's on Naviance.
Okay.
So that's nothing you need to be doing until junior year.
What do you want on there?
I'm sorry.
There are questions.
Can you
just
explain
answer
where that
them.
is again?
It's on Naviance, so if you log on, but you have to be with your parent logon, your students. Many of you, because your student had a login, that's what the login that everybody's using in your house, which is fine for informational purposes, but at this point, the brag sheet only appears on the parent Naviance. So if you don't know your login, email your child's counselor and they will be able to give you that login. It's a questionnaire, there are questions, so you're just responding to the questions. You don't have to produce the format or kind of the information, so you'll see kind of what we're looking for.
Is that helpful for the counselor
Yes.
guiding the student? Or not just for the recommendation, or is it for the recommendation, or?
I think it's for the recommendation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Parents tend to give information that kids are not as willing to give, and a lot of times it's fantastic stuff we didn't even know about.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
I have a question about, it's overwhelming, the amount of money you can spend on tutors and SAT tutors and ACT tutors and college counselors and the industry that has developed around trying to get your kid into college. And I'm wondering where the value is in your view, because, you know, at what point should a family invest in all of these, one or all of these, you know, options, or is it for the family that has the very disorganized kid, or the family that has the superstar kid that, you know, you really want to position well? I guess I'm wondering, at what point should we as a family make a decision that we need to outsource some things, or can we do it all ourselves? Can we do it all with you? It's very overwhelming and expensive.
Yes. Well, applying to college is very expensive as well, so keep that in mind that in senior year it gets even more so. After you've done all that prep, you have the probably $150 per application minimum. So I'll answer the question. I mean, it really varies. You have to be financially able to do all those things, first of all, as a family. In our opinion, we are college counselors and we come with your tuition at Chaminade. So we think that we're pretty awesome and you don't need to spend money on that.
Yeah.
It's what we do all day long. So, we would rather see your students come see us. And we have to do a lot for them anyway with the application process. So it's really double duty for your poor student. After they've gone to their tutors and their prep and their and their college counselor, they also have to come see us at school. It's just a lot of double time. Tutoring, obviously, is great if your student's struggling in a class. I mean, that's something that we would recommend to anybody. In terms of the financial part, we have tutors, CSF tutors here for free. And we also have a list of adult tutors that we can offer that might be cheaper than what you've gotten. We don't know, it's case by case basis, but, and the test prep, a lot of students do that, and spend thousands and thousands of dollars on test prep. We have on our Blackboard counseling site, which every grade level has a counseling site on Blackboard, we have links for free test prep. There are ways to go about the whole process without emptying your bank accounts.
Yeah. We have Schmoop and we have PrepMe.
Yeah.
And the one thing, much like we were talking about with the colleges sending out information, you need to understand that this hysteria over college admissions is somewhat being fueled by the industry that you are speaking about. That there are ways to get that same information without causing a financial burden on your family. And as Mrs. Cuneo said, we have a great, very comprehensive college counseling program here. And really, there is no reason that a student needs to go outside. We have no vested interest where an outside college counselor or an independent college counselor, where their kids get accepted to, can get them more business. Where we have a job, if the kids go to where they want to go. I mean, I have students from last year. I have 4 kids right now that dealt with an outside college counselor, and all four kids, are transferring to different schools because they went to schools that were named schools, not probably that were the most appropriate. So keep that in mind also. Our goal is to assist you in making the best choice for your child. It has no reflection, on us, other than we want your child to be in the best place possible.
It's 9 o'clock, so we're gonna stop. I just have one last comment on that. There's no industry that regulates college counselors. Anyone can put an ad in a paper or start doing college counseling and their only qualification may be that they put their own 3 kids through college and they think they know college counseling. So if you choose to go that route, you might want to investigate their credentials and talk to the college counselor about it. And mostly, the only time we think that is even helpful is if you don't have time to sit there and make sure your child's filling out an application. Our college counselors are going to sit with the student and fill in every line on an application. But so if you're paying somebody $50, $60 an hour to do that, sure, they'll sit there and do that for you. But use your college counselors that we have available. I think you'll be happy. I will be sending emails for upcoming events and our next College and Coffee. And thank you very much for coming.